Yeah.
Music Bed.
Man, how do you want it? It's time to get this started. I'm 10 toes here regardless. Today we call it a market. I'm still going our hardest. Still here with my bros and sisters. That's why we gon' go the distance. I shoot and I never miss it, man. Don't get me
So in terms of an activity, for me, it's like everything.
started. Very efficient game and come with assistance. Had to go through this all on my own. You never would know. I better get missing. I got them bury the hatchet. I got a dream, but I grabbed it. Back then they were laughing. Nowadays, bro, what's happening? Oh Lord, I came from more. I raised the bar. Can't hold me back when it's all that I want.
Climbing traces its roots back to ancient civilizations where humans scaled natural rock formations for such things as survival and exploration. Over time, survival instincts evolved into a recreational pursuit, with early climbers pushing the limits on what was thought to be possible.
As societies and subcultures evolved, various factors influenced the rise of recreational climbing, such as cultural attitudes, the innovation of equipment, and the emergence of leisure time. During the late 1800s and early 1900s, pioneers would embark on daring climbs purely for the adventure as well as the love and challenge of climbing. Their expeditions captured public imagination and sparked interest in scaling peaks for the sheer joy of exploration during climbing, which would eventually go on to lay the foundations for modern recreational climbing.
Rock climbing emerged as its own standalone sport as innovations were made to the equipment. These innovations improved the safety of the climbers involved, allowing them to attempt progressively harder routes with increased safety and confidence. The innovations came in areas such as ropes, harnesses, footwear, carabiners, as well as bolts.
Originally, climbers used ropes made from natural fibres such as hemp, but were later improved to use a synthetic fibre in nylon. This led to far superior ropes in terms of both strength and durability. Early climbers did not have harnesses. They used to make their own or simply just tie ropes around their waists as a form of safety. Purpose-built harnesses were later made. These were much comfier and helped to distribute the forces evenly during big falls.
The last major innovations were to the carabiners and bolt placements. When it came to bolt placements, early climbers used metal spikes which were known as pitons. These spikes were wedged into cracks for the protection of the climbers. The problem with these is that they were often left in place, which in turn affected future climbs. To combat this issue, bolts were drilled into the rock faces alongside the introduction of removable pitons, allowing for a more efficient and sustainable climbing experience. Carabiners were first utilised by early mountaineers. They were used to facilitate mobility and safety. Carabiners were later developed to be made more of a lightweight but strong material in aluminium. This allowed for them to retain their function but also allow the exploration of much longer and more dangerous routes as climbers could equip themselves with as many as needed. So, can you introduce yourself and tell us why you started climbing and how long ago?
Oh gosh. Well, who am I? I'm Ashley Hardwell, and I've been working at Leeds Beckett for 17 years, but I've been climbing and doing things in the outdoors since I was about 11. Started with Scouts doing caving, and I just got mad keen on caving, and then just one day I went climbing in Avon Gorge at Bristol, still remember the name of the route, Idleburger Buttress, and I just didn't cave for another 10 years. I was absolutely sold down the river to climbing, and I'm guessing that's about focus of attention, the people that you climb with, the incredible environments that you end up in. Climbing takes you to places and spaces that you just wouldn't think about going. So in terms of an activity, for me, it's got everything that I would want to do. I spent years climbing around in caves underground in the dark, and suddenly I thought, I'm climbing in the outdoors in beautiful weather on fantastic rock and with all these really amazing views. So I've been doing this for, how long is that? Dare I say, 50 years, isn't it? So, yeah.
The culture of climbing has evolved significantly over the years and has been shaped by the diverse range of populations that have embraced the lifestyle sport pursuit. As climbing grew and became more popular over the many decades, distinct subcultures emerged, all with different styles and beliefs.
Rock climbing splits into many different disciplines, such as traditional climbing, which highlights adventure, getting outside into nature, and scaling rock formations, placing gear one piece at a time until you reach the top. You also have sport climbing, which focuses more on athleticism and speed, using pre-placed bolts for protection. Another rock climbing discipline is bouldering, which involves short, intense climbs with no rope and little equipment, emphasising strength and problem solving.
One climbing scene that has seen a huge rise in popularity is the indoor climbing scene, with climbing gyms providing a controlled and safe environment for training and socialising, allowing the climbing community to grow bigger and bigger. But that doesn't come without criticism from some old school traditional climbers who say indoor climbing has changed the culture of climbing forever.
So, there's a real culture around rocking up to the bouldering wall and having that social situation of bouldering and watching your mates trying to do problems and you doing them. And that sort of culture's changed, I think, to a socialisation culture rather than perhaps the activity itself years gone by would be just probably a pair of you going off and doing things. The socialisation's still there in the pub at the end, but maybe the day is a little bit more about the two people climbing together, perhaps.
Rock climbing as a sport is able to open people's eyes to how beautiful nature can be. Just to reach some climbing routes, it will have you exploring remote locations with incredible scenery. This appreciation of nature and the sense of exploration has climbers travelling from country to country just to see what climbing routes they can find. Through climbing, the people gain a strong appreciation for the environments that they climb in. This often leads them to be a part of conservation movements in an effort to promote more sustainable climbing practices to help preserve the beauty of the settings for the future generations.
Climbing culture brings along a strong sense of community. This community can just be in local gyms and climbing areas, alongside having huge global communities where people will share experiences and knowledge they've gained over the course of their climbing journey. Climbers are able to form strong connections inside their communities as they are able to connect over their mutual passion for the sport of rock climbing.
For me, climbing is about going into the mountains and finding your way up rock routes and then finding your way off the top using a map and hoping the weather is going to be okay. But nowadays, I think it's much more of a quick fix activity. People go to a crag that they can walk to quickly. Maybe it's bolted. They're able to do 6 or 8 routes in a day, and then they come back and they pop in for a drink on the way home. They might be with half a dozen other people that they know that they've all gone to the same climbing area. But for me, it was always about going out with a really good friend, a trusted friend, who you were going to go to a particular area of the mountains and then try and climb a particular route. Whether you could do that or not was sometimes in the balance, depending on weather, the difficulty of the climb, how you were feeling at the time. But I think there's a lot more knowns these days. Mm-hmm. And I think people tend to stay closer to home and closer to the roads.
The value of rock climbing to each participant will be vastly different. Rock climbing is highly beneficial to many aspects of a climber's life. It can benefit your physical, mental and social well-being. Alongside this, climbing is able to develop key life skills that will benefit the participants throughout their life. Rock climbing is a highly strenuous activity requiring immense levels of physical strength, muscular endurance, coordination and flexibility. Through climbing, the participants are able to further their knowledge and skills in the sport whilst putting themselves through intense training in all these areas.
Climbing is able to benefit one's mental health and well-being. Climbing has been described as a form of moving meditation. Climbing as an activity requires extreme levels of concentration and presence. This focus is able to distract climbers from their personal lives and the daily pressures that come along with that. Climbing is able to provide a mental escape for the climbers involved, allowing them to immerse themselves into the activity free of any personal distractions.
I think I love the mountains, but I also love sea cliff climbing, and I think those memories they come about by the environment that you're climbing in, sea, mountains, my favourites, but then also the people that you end up climbing with. I think the people often make the experience, and whilst the climbing is a really important aspect of what you do, of course, it's that shared experience and moment together that's really, really important.
Climbing is able to develop and instill key life skills into participants. Throughout everyone's individual climbing journey, they are forced to develop skills such as their decision-making, problem-solving, resilience, patience, perseverance, self-confidence, and adaptability. Developing these skills will not only benefit their climbing, but it will also help in their daily life. These skills are easily transferable into ordinary situations and will be valued in most fields of work. The skills gained in climbing are extremely valuable to one's personal development as both a climber and a person.
Naturally, as the sport of climbing continues to grow, it faces a range of issues and trends that are shaping its future. One of the main issues is the environmental impact climbers have on the natural climbing environments due to the increased foot traffic within them areas, causing such things as erosion to take place. Climbers are encouraged to leave no-trace principles to maintain the natural beauty of the environments climbers choose to climb in.
Another issue is the safety and risk management within climbing. Even with all the improved advancements in safety gear, human error and accidents can still occur, which is why the importance of education and correct training is influenced amongst the climbing communities.
Inclusivity and diversity are huge trends now within climbing, as in the past, climbing was considered a mainly white male-dominating sport. However, the inclusivity of climbing now allows the needs of a diverse range of populations within the sport to be met, providing a welcoming and supportive community which promotes a sense of belonging, with initiatives aimed at increasing participation amongst women, people of colour, and individuals with disabilities.
Climbing broke a significant milestone when it was included in the 2020 Tokyo Olympics, spreading its audience globally to opinionated viewers.
So, climbing and the Olympics, what a place to go. When we talk about cultural change, I guess, then including climbing in the Olympics is probably a possible huge cultural change. First of all, in terms of the British scene, it really doesn't depict what goes on in this country. Of course, lots of people climb indoors, and there are competitions indoors. So the lead climbing competition and the bouldering is fine. But this idea of speed climbing is completely alien to us. For me, the Olympic Games, it's similar to skateboarding as well. The Olympic Games is, for me, not doing any favours for the sport.
There are many initiatives that aim to promote rock climbing and spread awareness of the benefits it brings. The initiative we want to highlight will be the Global Climbing Initiative. This initiative aims to provide new emerging climbing communities with the knowledge and resources to allow them to thrive. This initiative wants to abolish the disparity in access to knowledge, climbing equipment and opportunities.
Their thought process is that with a more equitable spread of resources and mentorship in underserved communities across the climbing world, it will allow them to thrive using climbing as a sustainable source of ecotourism, social change, and environmental advocacy. Throughout 2023, this initiative was very successful. They invested in 17 different climbing organizations from Africa, Asia, and Latin America. They provided extensive training to 22 different climbing leaders in both Kenya and Malawi. Throughout the year, they were able to donate a total of £31,000. 27,000 was in just essential climbing gear and 4,000 went to grant projects.
No matter the difference of beliefs, disciplines or subcultures climbers place themselves in, only one thing is certain in this lifestyle sport, and that is the love for climbing.